It's happening again. Tariffs, retaliation threats, and tense negotiations. The global trade battlefield is heating up, and this time it's not just between Washington and Beijing. Now America's closest allies, Canada and Mexico, are caught in the crossfire too. The headlines might sound familiar: new duties, old rivalries, and talk of economic nationalism. But beneath the surface, this isn't a repeat of 2018's trade war. This is Trade War 2.0, and it's far more complicated. Because today, the U.S. isn't fighting just to win better deals, it's fighting to reshape the global supply chain. Let's unpack how this all began. Earlier this year, Washington announced a sweeping set of tariffs, some as high as 100%, on a wide range of imports. Everything from Chinese electric vehicles and solar panels to Canadian lumber and Mexican steel is now under scrutiny. The White House says the goal is simple: protect American industries, especially manufacturing and clean energy, from unfair foreign competition. But here's what makes this moment explosive. The U.S. isn't just targeting China anymore. It's tightening the screws on its own neighbors under the USMCA trade agreement. That's right. The very countries that make up North America's supply chain network, Canada and Mexico, are suddenly facing tariff threats over energy, agriculture, and even automotive exports, and that's creating major tension. You see, after the first trade war ended, thousands of American companies moved their manufacturing from China to Mexico and Canada, a process called nearshoring. It was supposed to strengthen the continent's economic unity, but now the U.S. is cracking down on those same trade partners, arguing that they're benefiting unfairly from loopholes and foreign subsidies. Mexico's president has already warned that if the U.S. goes too far, Mexico will retaliate. Canada's government, too, has hinted at countermeasures if its key exports, especially lumber and metals, get caught in the tariff net. And all this is happening at a time when inflation is still a major concern. Because let's be honest, tariffs might sound like a tool to protect workers, but in reality, they often raise prices for consumers. More duties mean higher costs on imported goods, and that ripple effect travels fast, from the ports to the factories to your local store shelves. So why risk it? For Washington, it's about leverage and long-term strategy. The U.S. wants to rewire the global economy to make itself less dependent on China while keeping production close to home. That's the heart of friendshoring, moving supply chains to trusted allies. But the irony? Even those friends, like Canada and Mexico, are starting to feel the heat. Now, China's role in this can't be ignored. Beijing has been flooding global markets with cheap exports, particularly in green tech like EVs, solar panels, and batteries. U.S. officials say these products are so heavily subsidized that American firms can't compete. That's why the White House slapped 100% tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, effectively shutting them out of the U.S. market. China, unsurprisingly, isn't taking that quietly. It's already retaliating with new restrictions on American agriculture and high-tech materials. And that's how trade wars start, not with a bang, but with 1,000 small cuts. Meanwhile, American companies caught in the middle are anxious. Auto manufacturers who depend on cross-border parts are warning that new tariffs could raise car prices and disrupt supply chains that took years to build. Tech firms fear higher costs for components that still come from Asia. And small businesses, from furniture makers to construction suppliers, are bracing for another round of price spikes. What's different this time is that it's not just about trade imbalances, it's about ideology. The new economic thinking in Washington is that efficiency is no longer the priority, resilience is. In other words, it's okay if things cost more, as long as they're made closer to home and under American control. That's a massive philosophical shift from the free trade era of the past 40 years, and it's creating a new kind of global tension, one where even allies can become competitors overnight. But there's also a deeper layer: politics. Trade wars play well with voters. Talking tough on China, protecting local jobs, and bringing manufacturing home are popular messages, even if the real-world economics are messy. So expect this rhetoric to keep escalating as elections approach, because no one wants to look soft on trade or global competition. Still, behind the slogans, there's a real challenge the U.S. is trying to solve: how to rebuild domestic industry without breaking the system that keeps it running. Because the truth is, North America's economies are more connected than ever. Your car might have parts from Michigan, Ontario, and Monterey, all assembled in one supply chain. Your phone's chip might come from Texas, but its casing from Shenzhen. No tariff can untangle that overnight. And if trade tensions escalate too far, the fallout could be severe: slower growth, higher prices, and strained alliances. Yet there's also a strategic upside. If managed carefully, this trade reset could push companies to build more inside the U.S., strengthen local supply networks, and reduce dependence on global choke points. It could, in theory, create a new industrial base built on stability rather than speed. But make no mistake, this is a gamble, because once you weaponize trade, you can't easily unweaponize it, and when every country starts protecting its own industries first, the global economy becomes a battlefield where cooperation is the first casualty. We're watching that happen now, not in the background but in real time. The US, China, Canada, and Mexico are all defending their interests, and the next decade of global trade could be defined by these clashes. What started as a few tariffs on cars and wood could evolve into a full-blown realignment of global commerce, a world where free trade is replaced by strategic trade, where national security, not profit margins, decides what gets built and where. Welcome to the new era of trade: slower, costlier, but more controlled. And while some industries will thrive in this new world, others will be casualties of the shifting tides. Because in this new game, every tariff is a statement, and every statement comes with a price. Trade Wars 2.0 isn't just about imports and exports anymore. It's about who gets to shape the future of globalization and who gets left out. And this time, the battle lines aren't just drawn between rivals, they're drawn between friends.